just to start off, thank you for coming. I can't tell you how, I mean, I'll get quite emotional, I think, because I can't believe that I'm looking out over a room of people all working on Curlew, because 10 years ago, we couldn't have done this, I don't think. It is amazing. So February 2016, I just got this mad idea to go and walk 500 miles for Curlews. Don't ask me why, I can't tell you why, it just came to me in a flash. I stopped, I was working at the BBC Natural History Unit, a contract had just finished. I didn't take on the next one, I just packed a bag and went. And the first thing I did was go and find out a bit more about it all. I went right up to Scotland, people might recognise Bob Swan there, up on the top, and he was tagging winter in Curlew. I went to see Ian Slatehome, who's here, and Tom Wood-Paulet on the Grousemoor estate in Bolton. And went down to the Wash to have a look to see where the Curlews were in the winter, and just kind of made a plan, really, and set off in 2016. And I first of all went to the west of Ireland. I did a bit of a detour to see the RSPB up in Enniskillen and over in Glenwherry, but then really started the walk from Ireland, from the Republic onwards. That's kind of the route, which is a bit wacky. I just drew a line, and I wanted to go to places where the birds still sing. I wanted to go to the fields where they've fallen now completely silent, and I wanted to go where they're just about hanging on. And I talked to conservationists, scientists, bird watchers, the public, anybody, artists, poets, anybody who would talk to me about what the birds meant to them. And there are just a few pictures from the routes. It took me through complete agricultural deserts to some of the most beautiful scenery that we've got in the Britain and Ireland. Curlew Moon was the result of that. And it was a fact-finding tour, because I think at heart I'm a journalist. I'm not a field worker, I'm not a naturalist. I think at heart I'm a journalist. And your first rule of journalism and a documentary maker is you never, ever, ever take second-hand information. You always go to source. And so I could have read a number of papers, I could have, but you have to go and see for yourself. If you really want to find out, you go and see for yourself. And what I found out is what we all know and why we're all here today. Curlew are failing because they nest on the ground. It's as simple as that, really. Those eggs and chicks are so vulnerable because we do everything that we do pretty much on the ground. We build our houses, we do our industry, we farm it, we put our houses on it, we shoot over, we do everything on the ground. And therefore the birds are subject to human activity the whole time. And what came out of the walk was just the immensity of the problem of predation, which I know we'll be talking about later on. Huge amounts of mesopredators and dwindling numbers of curlew. But also land use, forestry, disturbance, silage cutting, increasingly climate change. All of these things just came, it was as though the greatest environmental issues we face, right across Europe actually, came down and sat on the shoulders of curlews. They sort of prowled around its nest, and these poor birds could not find the space and the peace to breed. That's what I discovered. I didn't know that before I set out actually, but that was so obvious on the walk. And so the very first thing I did was set up 4 big conferences, big, this sort of size. The first one, the All Ireland Conference, which was held right in the centre of Ireland. Then there was the English one that was at Slimbridge. Then the Welsh one. And where were we, Pat? We were Bilthwells, that's right. And then Scotland, up at, I can't remember where we were in Scotland. Anyway, near Perth, up there. And it was amazing to get all these people in the room together. And some of those people you could still see are still hanging on with us. And quite a lot of people would be here today as well if they could have made it this weekend. But it's amazing to see everybody there. I also started World Curlew Day, which is April the 21st. Because it's the first average laying date for curlews in Western Europe. It's the Feast of St. Beno, who everybody now, I'm sure, knows about. Anybody not heard of St Beno? Oh, yeah, a few. St Beno was a 7th century Welsh saint who, so very ancient, and legend has it that he was a very good preacher, and he lived right over in the west of Wales, and he was sailing out in his boat, and he dropped his book of prayers into the sea, and a curlew apparently flew out, picked up the prayer book and took it to the shore to dry. And St Beno blessed the bird, the curlew, and said, "May your nests always be difficult to find, so you can blame." And his feast day actually happens to be April the 21st as well, so there's a bit of synergy. And so World Curlew Day was set up, and just to allow us all to have a day just to think about curlew, but also to allow those who are not conservationists and who are not scientists, they can do stuff as well. Everybody can do stuff. And as I think John Avon will be talking about a bit later, who knew that the now King of England, then Prince Charles, loves curlews. He loves them. And he organised 2 symposium, one at a hotel in Dartmoor and one in Highgrove. And the first one in Dartmoor, there's quite a few people here that were at that as well, I think. And I do remember, and I've remembered this ever since, because if ever now I organise anything, I do tell people what they are expected to do, because I had no idea that I would be sitting next to Prince Charles before I walked in the room that same day. I'd spent the night sleeping in my camper van in the car park. And it was amazing. And it was just a quick funny story, because we talked all about the problems, and someone in the audience said, "I think the BBC should make a television programme about curlews, because then everybody would know." And because of my background, I was a producer at the Natural History Unit. I said, "I'm sorry, that just won't happen. Curlews don't have teeth and claws, they don't chase antelopes, they will not make a documentary on curlews, they're just not sexy enough." And Prince Charles then stood up, and he looked very cross, and he said, "I entirely disagree with you." He said, "I think curlews are sexy. I think they're damnably sexy." Anyway, King Charles really did kickstart more of the established sort of things to go on, I'll say that, but he was a great help, and still is. So the conclusions: adult survival's good, productivity is appalling, 0.25 across a lot of the lowlands, should be about 0.6. Graham Atherton, thank you Graham for being a mathematician, worked out we need about 10,000 more chicks a year just to hold the line. 10,000! And so we need national scale solutions. And therefore, thank you Prince Charles, helping to kickstart the Curlew Recovery Partnership, of which I'm the chair, and all those organisations, we sit down together and basically try to help form policy and ideas on how to move it forward. And I set up Curlew Action about 5-6 years ago now. So huge amounts has happened. And when looking back over the 10 years, when I set out, almost nobody was working. Well, they were working on curlews in little small isolated sort of projects, but nobody was really joined up. And then the BTO did a survey, and look at the growth of curlew projects. Just look at that, and there's more now. Lots of PhDs, lots of MSCs, lots of interest in conservation organisations. For those of you who came to the Norfolk workshop, we held the first European workshop 2 years ago, where it became increasingly obvious from the work we were doing in Curlew Action that right across Europe we're facing the same issues. So there's no point just talking about things here, we have to talk about Europe-wide. So, a host of PhDs. I haven't done my own PhD, I haven't finished it yet on acronyms, and I'm probably going to switch to ancient Tibetan because it'll be easier. I hate acronyms and I can never remember them, but there's lots of stuff going on, including head starting, as we will know. So we're kind of farming curlews as well. I haven't got much time left, but it's all about science and conservation, but it's all about everybody else, because we won't save these birds unless society wants them saved. So we can do what we like, but if society doesn't care, nothing will last in the long term. So to me, it's absolutely vital that we get the public involved as well, that we raise the understanding of what it's like. And World Curlew Day has produced some outstanding poetry just written by members of the public, and here's one of them.
Lost after Rabindranath Tagore by Sarah Howden. I do not remember the curlew, but on certain pale winter afternoons I find the mudflats scattered with footprints like carelessly dropped stars. I do not remember the curlew, only a handful of crumpled feathers, each one a liquid ribbon of mud set against a faded pink sky, a cartography of longing. I do not remember the curlew, but sometimes, blown in by the tide, I hear a cry that swoops upwards like the outline of grief, the curve of a beak or a bird, more song than substance, soaring again towards the sun.
Doing beautiful stuff that we get in, sent in by just anybody aged 3 to 93 we've had. So I look forward to all your contributions this year. We've had a mural painted in the West Country in Stroud on the wall. We've launched the Curlew Action Plan very recently. And we want to avoid this.
This could be the last curlew to breed in Kerry. Hopefully not. And we will do everything we can to make sure that's not the case. But as things stand, on this day, the 6th of May 2023, this is the last remaining curlew breeding in County Kerry.
That was the voice of Barry O'Donoghue, who has been so important working on curlew in Ireland, and that curlew hasn't come back. So people from the Republic, if you can correct me, but I don't think there are now any breeding curlew left in County Kerry. And we could end up here, couldn't we? We could end up here. And this year, this is the slender-bill curlew, declared extinct in October last year. And as part of World Curlew Day again, somebody else wrote a poem. The winner this year was on the slender-billed curlew. And all we have left of the slender-billed curlew is a recording of its song and one piece of film.
When the last one cried, with no other to hear, did she dissolve into nothingness until just a voice remained, echo on the wind, softly fading? Or did she wait a while, wondering why no answer came? Was she lonely, resigned? Or did she continue, hoping to find the others, wherever they had gone? Was it sudden death, a gunshot, a fox's jaws, or gradual weariness, until she wandered for the last time into long grass, taking her voice to eternal silence?
We won't let that happen to the Eurasian curlew. You won't. It's so moving to see you all here. Thank you for being part of this extraordinary 10 years that have gone by. I literally can't believe I'm standing here. If you'd asked me 10 years ago if I'd been doing this, it never occurred to me. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate every single one of you.